Today, I'll show you how I designed and sewed this floral skirt. For the fabric, I chose a viscose twill fabric. I purchased the fabric from Lamazi Fabrics about a year and a half ago. This fabric had a slight two-way stretch across the cross grain. The fabric was quite fluid in nature, with a bit of weight as well. Previously, I drafted an A-line skirt for stretch fabrics with the invisible waistband. I used this pattern as the base and modified the pattern to add the waffle. I wanted the waffle to be 1/3 of the total length. Therefore, I measured the pattern from the waist to the hem, which was 36 inches. Then, I made small marks at 24.5 inches, or 2/3 of the length of the skirt, plus a seam allowance. I connected these marks into a curve and folded over the pattern at this point. I cut out both the front and back pieces from the fabric. The front was cut on a fold and the back will have a seam. For the waffle, I wanted the length to be 12.5 inches to account for the seam allowance. I cut the width of the waffle as the width of the fabric, which was 44 inches. I cut 3 strips in total, for a total waffle width of 132 inches. To sew together, I used a serger for most of the seams. I serged the back skirt pieces together. Taking the front and back skirt pieces, I pinned and serged them together at the side. For the invisible waistband, I cut a 1.5 inch wide elastic. For the length, I measured my waist and cut it at that length. I made a loop from the elastic, overlapping the edges by 1 inch. I sewed small zigzag stitches across with a straight stitch, but a zigzag stitch here probably would have been ideal. This results in a waistband elastic with 1 inch negative ease, which is perfect for me. To attach the elastic to the skirt, I first marked the center front, back, and sides of the elastic band. I marked these points on the skirt as well. Then, I pinned the elastic band to the top. The elastic is placed inside the skirt, attaching to the wrong side of the fabric. I pinned at each quarter point. Then, I found the halfway points between the quarter points and pinned here as well. In total, I marked at 8 different spots. As you can see, because the skirt is wider than the elastic, the fabric does not lay flat. I used my serger to sew the elastic to the top of the waistband, stretching the fabric as I sew till there are no creases and the fabric lays flat on the elastic. Fold down the fabric over the elastic, covering it and encasing it inside. Pin into place. Using a straight stitch, I stitched around the waistband at 1.25 inch from the top. This will sew down the elastic and hold it into place. Make sure to slightly stretch the fabric as you sew to prevent the stitches from breaking when putting on the skirt. For the waffle, I serged each piece together to form a giant wing. To form the hem, I folded over 1 inch on one side and ironed it flat. Originally, I cover stitched this seam. However, because the fabric is not a knit, it started to unravel. I had to undo this, and ended up folding it over and creating a regular double fold hem. To gather, on the top of the waffle, I stitched 2 gather stitches, one at 3/8 inch and the other at 1/2 inch. I marked the center front, back, and sides of the skirt and the waffle, though maybe don't use pins like I did as they fell out during the gathering. Gather the waffle till it's approximately the size of the skirt, pin together, matching the quarter point guidelines, and then pinning around. Sew together at 5/8 of an inch, and then serge the seams. Overall, I'm really happy with how the skirt came out. It is a bit heavier than I anticipated, but it has a really nice flow and I'm happy with how the design came out.